Avengers! Assemble.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Excelsior, the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers podcast. I'm your director, Christian Buckley, as always, joined by the Apex legend, Jack Martin.
Excelsior, it has finally happened.
Yeah.
We finally got it.
Mm-hmm.
It's here.
It feels good.
It's Marvel Future Revolution, and I'm so excited.
No, well, Jack, you joke, but this is a very special episode. I don't know if you're aware.
Tell me all about it.
So it's a special episode because it is the episode where I realized last week's episode was 1 year since we started doing Excelsior again.
No way.
Yeah. So there you go.
Congrats to us. Hey, this is the first. This marks the first occasion that Excelsior has gone a full year of running. So that's good stuff. Yeah,
Excelsior is a consistent year old now, which is very fun and exciting. And it's weird to think that at this point we have done more episodes of Excelsior together remotely and about this good game rather than just like the greater Marvel MCU and comics that we started Excelsior as like 2 years ago at this point, 3 maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about because we essentially did the first run of Excelsior kind of in a like college semester sort of schedule, plus a little bit into the summer. So yeah, that's because you think back on like past events and like past projects, and they feel like they went on for so long. But for the case of Excelsior, the first run wasn't too long, but man, was it a great time.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, today, like I said, it's exciting, not just because Excelsior is a year old, technically, but we have the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, like Jack mentioned. We got Future Revolution to talk about, and a host of other things. So why don't we get right into it with Fury's report, what is new in Marvel's Avengers this week? Basically, just some reminders that this is the last week you'll be able to earn exotics 3 times a week rather than 1 from the Mega Hive and Omega level threats. I did not take advantage of this. I don't know if you did.
I did not. I honestly didn't even play the game this week, to be completely honest.
Yeah, me either.
Which might be saying something.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, both of us were positive on War for Wakanda, right? Like, we both enjoyed it, and we had fun with it.
Yeah, it was good for what it was.
Yeah, and I've felt a sense of that amongst the online community recently, at least the ones in my circle who like Avengers. I think you and I are the hardest core fans of the game I speak to, but even someone like a Greg Miller, I feel like he's not talking about it much since last week, and granted there were a bunch of other gaming industry events this week, so maybe that's why, but yeah, I think there's a consensus that War for Wakanda wasn't the turnaround point that everyone was hoping it would have been, but it was still like another good W for this game. I think that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, it was the best content release for the game, but I don't think it serves as like this new chapter in how Square and Crystal take care of Marvel's Avengers.
Sure.
It is sort of just new, albeit really great content, but it's not the capital E expansion I think we kind of wanted it to be. And I don't think we were sold short on it. Like, they gave us pretty good expectations on what we were going to get with War for Wakanda, but I think we were all kind of secretly hoping that this would be the new 2.0 for Marvel's Avengers, and it really quite isn't that.
Yeah, so maybe it's a mix of that, maybe it's a mix of me wanting to play some other stuff this past week, but I, like you, have not messed with the game much since I beat War for Wakanda. So my Black Panther is still basically where I left off last week. Did not take advantage of the triple drops for exotics. Double XP is also ending on September 2nd, so if you're looking to try and get Black Panther 250, 150, the double XP will absolutely help you with the level 50 grind, and then some champion XP. I'm probably going to try to get some champion levels on Thor as well, but do you see yourself diving in?
Maybe. Like I said, I did try to jump in this week. Or, well, I guess I didn't say that. Last night I tried to jump in. Wasn't really too much for me to do. So I didn't really end up doing stuff. I went back to Hades. Just been all in on Hades. I got it on PS5. I double dipped. So that's pretty much what I'm playing in terms of video games. So haven't really done too much, but with that looming over my head, maybe I'll jump in and do probably what you said, get some champion XP, throw some catalysts on, and, get some more XP. Yeah, totally.
So that's what's going on in the game right now. As far as the marketplace is concerned, we got some fun ones this week, I would say. New team skin set, it looks like, because we got, I believe, Kate, Hulk, Thor, and Widow in the shop with some new themed outfits.
Yeah, I did pop into the marketplace. I think you're right, but the War Table blog doesn't list that. It usually does. So, yeah, this one's a little interesting. So, like what you said, it's Gamma Poisoned inspired. So it's, green. And it looks like all the characters are very sick. Yeah. Which I think is funny.
It's like cartoon sick, like Timmy Turner with a green face, It's like, oh boy, he ate some. Or did you ever watch All Grown Up?
Yeah, I was an inconsistent All Grown Up watcher.
Do you remember the episode where Angelica was working in the cafeteria and then she, for some reason, put like dish soap in the mac and cheese?
No.
Well, this is that. I imagine one of those characters who ate the mac and cheese became green-faced, much like this Thor. But their clothes didn't turn green. This Thor does. We got the neon green cape and the zombie green flesh.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. This is in that category where the team outfits can either be like very kind of minimalist in a way or like very over the top. And I feel like this is probably in the latter category where it's very green. I hope you like green.
Yeah, like I respect it. I think it's fun and cool, and I like that this is in the game. But again, I wouldn't spend my credits on these.
I'd be very interested to have a conversation with a player who sort of waits for these, like with bated breath. I haven't really seen like a lot of screenshots of some of these team outfits. So obviously I don't think we'd ever get data on like, this is how many people bought this skin, but that would be really interesting to know. So,
yeah. Well, hopefully we see this green flesh return for some Marvel Zombies horde modes in the future. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, there's a couple of few other notable things in the marketplace this week, namely some bundles. There's a Hulk Endgame bundle that comes with the Endgame Hulk skin, some like nameplates and stuff. I believe that is 2,000 credits at the moment. We got a Captain America bundle that has 3 skins, none of which are MCU inspired for those that are curious. You get an XP booster with it as well, and I think a nameplate. And then there's a Hawkeye one, which has 4 skins, I believe, and 2 of them they're like, I think it's like 2 and 2, but they're both recolors of the same thing. So
yeah, they're the Hawkeye skin set that I really don't like, where he
Iron
has
Eye.
Yeah, it's the Stark suit, right? Essentially, like
basically,
recolors
yeah.
of the Stark. Yeah, not a fan.
So, yeah, that's what's currently in the marketplace. Again, it seems like every week they surprise us with some weird twist on something of like a bundle or a package. Some people were surprised by logging in and seeing that they got some new funds in their credits account. Both of us were not so lucky. What did we do wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, was eagerly logging in today before the recording to see if we got treated, but not yet.
No. So, I mean, I'm not saying I would take a bribe or anything, but I think we're pretty positive on this game.
I mean, if I had some extra credits, I would probably go for the Cap Avengers skin.
Oh, like, sure, no yeah. I mean, that Cap Avengers, skin is the reason that I only have 400 in the bank right now. So I do have to grind out the Black Panther challenge card at some point.
Yep.
So, speaking of Black Panther, updates. We got a update from Crystal Dynamics regarding the post-War for Wakanda roadmap. In their updates section of the War Table blog this week, they said, "We know you're all eagerly awaiting. We got a post-War for Wakanda roadmap coming shortly. And they also said, we want to make sure we announce plans we can commit to. I think last week we were saying we expected a maybe year one ending tweet or video that shows the roadmap. The whole plans we can commit to thing makes me a little curious because I think a lot of the discussion in the fandom was that War for Wakanda would be that make or break point of how much support does this game get in the future? Do you think that that wording is indicative of Square's yet to make the call, or do you think that I'm reading into this too much?
I think maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. They're like they purposely said there will be future content in the update. So from now until December, I think it's safe to think that we'll be getting some updates for this game for sure.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is absolutely happening. After that, I'm not so confident that by, I don't know, by year 2, or like by, I guess, the start of year 3, we'll have like another big expansion like War for Wakanda. I think it's entirely possible we get like smaller updates and maybe some character drops, but I just don't know how tenable it is to keep making big expansions for this that are free, and seemingly haven't really driven player counts up dramatically. So yeah, I think maybe we'll get the future for this game, for me at least, I think, is probably smaller updates. Nothing too crazy again, I don't think, unless it's paid.
Yeah, I remember you threw this idea for a topic my way back in like March or April, I think, and I would love to actually get into this now that we've seen War for Wakanda at some point, but after that free weekend, I think there's something to discuss about the future of this game, free to play, and then maybe shifting to paid expansions, because Destiny 2 kind of went a similar route of like, hey, the base game, there's an introductory free to play thing, and then now every year pretty much they got me buying a $50-$60 expansion and a couple seasons for $10 a pop. So like, I think there's still hope for me, but I think we might have to be prepared for some shifting of plans with this game, because the community and critical response to War for Wakanda content-wise was good. It's just, like you're saying, how sustainable is this? So
Right. Yeah. I'd love to have that conversation at some point, because there has been evidence pointing to, hey, maybe this game might look a little bit different in the coming months. But yeah, we'll see.
We will. But why don't we shift over to some stark realities? We got other stuff taking up the spotlight for Marvel games at the moment. As of today, well, recording this, it's been a few days while you're listening to this, but Marvel Future Revolution, an open-world mobile RPG, is now available. I am almost positive it is free to play, for sure on iOS. I think the developers said they were considering a PC port or something down the line, but I know, in my own opinion, I don't hate mobile games. I messed with Pokemon Go, Tetris, I Marvel Strike Force, I think, like the turn-based game where you can get characters and you can get random characters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've done stuff like that, so I'm not completely shut off to mobile games. I don't know if you are.
Yeah, like that's just not the experience I want. I used to play like Simpsons Tapped Out in high school.
Yeah.
Like that was that was fun. I got it, but now I'm at the point where like I don't. It's like very much like free to play models and stuff like that is like on consoles and stuff. I think that's fine, but especially on phone, I don't know why it is. Maybe it's because it's like such an accessible market that the microtransactions really make it like a pay-to-win system in a lot of games that I've had experience with. So it's kind of gross to me. I don't really like that experience, so I typically stay away from mobile games.
Sure. So this one's gotten some hype, so I do want to check it out at some point. But basically, you pick a Marvel hero, you can customize them with gear that changes their appearance. So much
Sounds
so
different to what we know.
Yeah, you can pick like Captain America, right? And then you can unlock like Red Guardian's head, and then you can just
Whoa.
like you can like seriously mess with these characters, and it's dipping into the ideas of the multiverse. Like Yuri Lowenthal is back as Spider-Man. Like it seems like it's got a
Ooh.
surprising budget for a mobile game, so I do want to try it out. It would be cool if it came to like Switch or something. You know how like that Star Wars Zynga game is coming to mobile and Switch. Like
Oh yeah.
would be cool, but we'll see the discussion on this game, I guess, in the coming weeks, because it is certainly doing some things that Avengers does not. So
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one.
the one that's a bit more exciting, though, a bit more up the old traditional console hardcore gamer market, Jack.
Yes.
Marvel's Midnight Suns, Suns.
What a name for this.
I
That
know,
really caught
it's
me by
so good.
surprise.
I I love the name. I love that it's not like Marvel's Avengers Midnight Suns or like Marvel Heroes Midnight Suns. It's like Marvel Midnight Suns, and the key art is just flames everywhere, and like Blade and Ghost Rider and Iron Man in this suit of armor that's got like a flame burning where the arc reactor is. It's a cool looking game, I think.
It's very much on the magical side of
Oh
Marvel,
yeah.
where like Doctor Strange is very heavy. Ghost Rider's here, which, man, I went down the Wikipedia rabbit hole of Ghost Rider, specifically the Nick Cage one. Do you know Mephisto was the main villain in that movie?
Of course he was.
How did we all forget, or at least I forgot?
Who plays Mephisto? Because I feel like that would be for like that era of movie. I feel like that would be like an Anthony Hopkins or like really talented actor.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
But I will look that up.
Okay. So what Marvel Future Revolution is sorry, no, not Future Revolution. What Marvel Midnight Suns is a new tactical RPG from Firaxis, who is the team responsible for the XCOM series. And XCOM, for those that don't know, it's like sci-fi alien invasion on Earth. You are a military force fighting, like typical gray Martian alien invasion, through strategic combat, where you have your units, you have a battlefield where every mission takes place with cover and different routes to take and different objectives per map. And you command your units across the battlefield to take out the enemies or secure resources for your resistance and a bunch of stuff like that. It's a tactical turn-based RPG. Do you have much experience with this genre, Jack?
The only thing that I can compare it to is like Company of Heroes,
Okay.
which I don't know how similar that is to XCOM. I think maybe a few months ago, probably at this point, I was saying that my friends are really big into XCOM.
Okay.
So I have interest in it because I know people personally who like really like that. And I've heard a lot of people say that this won't necessarily be like XCOM in that regard. It's like more of like a tactical RPG, like what you said. But yeah, this has me interested, and I like how diverse the Marvel catalog is at this point in terms of video games. Everything's not a third-person action video game. We can have things like this that are a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And my really entry-level experience with this genre is Fire Emblem, which is slightly different, where it is still like turn-based strategy, commanding units on a battlefield. That one is grid-based, and I believe stuff like Gears Tactics and XCOM and Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle are more open to a battlefield. You can like move certain distances, you can snap to cover. So like same idea, just less rigid than Fire Emblem, as far as I know. Like you haven't messed with XCOM, but the direction of this game visually I'm very into. Like you said, it's dipping into spiritual Marvel, supernatural. The enemy of the game is a character named Lilith, who is controlling like an army of demons and has possession of the Darkhold, which we know from WandaVision now, and I believe it was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think it's an exotic artifact in Avengers. But yeah, it seems really cool, and I love the trailer. We got a CG trailer. set to Enter Sandman, a cover of it by I think Alicia Cara.
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't count on my hands because I would require a lot of hands to count for this. But it has been such a trend to take like classic music that we all know and just cover it with usually like a woman covering it. And like that's just been such like, or usually they like slow play it and it's like piano version. This one at least I do appreciate how it was like a rock version. But man, it's always a cover of a song. It's like, why?
Do you remember my favorite example of this is Assassin's Creed Unity? It was Everybody Wants to Rule the World, but it was Lord.
Yep.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I just think it's funny that that's a trend.
Oh, for sure.
I have no clue why, but it's funny.
We don't know much else about this right now other than they created an original hero with Marvel to act as a player avatar. So we are going to have opportunities to bond with our Marvel heroes, like form strong relationships with them that will help influence our synergy on the battlefield. So maybe like some Mass Effect style hub bases where we can talk to our fellow heroes could be cool. And we are getting gameplay on September 1st. Next month, Game Informer's cover story is about this, so we will have loads more info, and it is releasing on March 2022 on pretty much every console, including Switch. So,
very cool. This will be a nice birthday month game if I decide to pick it up. I definitely want to see what this game looks like in terms of gameplay, and then I'll make a decision. But I do like how it's not just an Avengers-like or a Spider-Man-like. It does seem very different, and tactical RPG makes me very interested. So, yeah, excited to see this on Wednesday. It's pretty close.
Yeah, and fun little thing, I saw, like, if you sign up for the newsletter, you get a Blade skin, which is pretty cool. You don't have to, like, pre-order or anything, so I might sign up for that newsletter.
So, I looked it up, and I guess Peter Fonda was Mephisto in Ghost Rider. Does that name ring any bells?
Jane Fonda is someone, right?
Potentially? I don't know. I know you watched this movie probably in a film class, Easy Riders.
I probably did, yeah.
Yeah, he was in that. That's the only thing I recognized from the Wikipedia page. But I sent you a photo. It just looks ridiculous.
Oh,
if you
it's Mephisto?
Yeah, that's him. If you just look up Peter Fonda, Nick Cage, Ghost Rider.
Oh my god.
The images from that movie are something. And they're quite special. Man, if we're messing with the multiverse, please have Nick Cage come out. Please.
Because, like, I feel like Ghost Rider at this point has moved on beyond Johnny Blaze, right? Like,
sure.
Ghost Rider in the comics, most recently, the one I'm familiar with is Cosmic Ghost Rider, who's just Frank Castle. And with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and now Midnight Suns, the Ghost Rider they're using is Robbie Reyes. So I believe he drives a car rather than a motorcycle. So
whoa, really?
Yeah. Still got his chain whips though. Very, very cool metal edgy stuff. So
yeah,
looking forward to this one. But
do you want to know something crazy?
What's up?
So again, I was down the rabbit hole on Ghost Rider. So the first Ghost Rider movie came out in 2007, a year before Iron Man.
Whoa.
There was a second one that came out in 2012.
Damn.
So like this movie was hovering around like phase 1 of the MCU. And I can imagine there was probably a lot of people being like, when are they going to integrate Ghost Rider into this?
That's what I was just going to ask you. Like, was this a Sony Pictures thing? I feel like it was Sony.
Oh, let me see.
Because if it was Sony around 2012, we know there were conversations about Amazing Spider-Man getting like the Oscorp building in the Avengers skyline, right? Like that was the thing they were thinking about.
So this was Columbia, which is underneath Sony. So I don't think there were as many people. I don't think Kevin Feige was really busting down the doors of Sony to be like, we need Ghost Rider and also Spider-Man.
My dream, Jack, is that Phase 4 is the main phase with the multiverse, and then just to really capitalize and double dip, we get some sequence that is very much like Portals, but it is literally everybody from every Marvel movie since 2000 that's still like canonically alive, and they all just get killed off, so that way the MCU can introduce their own versions of them now.
That's a good plan. That's a really good plan.
So, last thing, since we're getting on a wild, crazy thought process right now.
Let's hear it.
What if that is the plot of Deadpool 3?
That's possible. Like at the end of Deadpool 2, wasn't he messing around like with time and things like that?
Mm-hmm. And Deadpool 3, I think, is supposed to come out sooner than later in the grand scheme of things. So, like, have him get brought in by Doctor Strange, be like, hey, I'm real busy. You got to do some cleanup work for me. Just go literally kill everybody. Because there's a comic, right? Like, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. Just have him kill everybody from Fox, everybody from Sony. Like, just go around and do that.
He's just death, essentially.
Yeah. Pretty much.
That'd be awesome. That'd be a great movie.
Hell yeah. Speaking of movies, meanwhile, we got a lot of stuff going on with the MCU and Marvel film. Now, let's see here. Jack, do you want to start with the big one, or do you want to burn through these brief ones and then get to just sink our teeth into Spider-Man?
Let's burn.
Okay. So, update, Shang-Chi is coming out very soon. It comes out September 3rd. Currently, it's at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, doing very well critically. And there's a lot of conversation, like we talked about last week. People really want to support this movie. We really want it to do well. It sounds like it's worthy of that. And yeah, I think I've settled on going to like a very early showing because I do want to support this movie the best.
That's a good idea. I know my friend's birthday is that weekend, and she really wants to go see it, so I'll probably go see that with her. Yeah, I'm definitely nervous about going for sure.
Yeah.
I'm fine with like going to outdoor venues and things like that, but indoors now is not safe. Yeah. So it's a little sus, but I'll wear a mask and I'm sure things will be fine.
Mask up, go at like 12:38 noon-ish. Just go around then.
Yep.
On like a Tuesday morning or something.
True.
Just nobody's going to be there. So Shang-Chi, we'll probably have opinions on in the near future because it's coming out very soon.
That's exciting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm stoked to see a new Marvel movie that's tackling something so different from everything else so far.
Yeah, and I'll listen to people I trust in terms of like reviewers that aren't really necessarily in it for the hype, and all of the people I've listened to have been praiseworthy in terms of like especially the action and things like that. So yeah, it's exciting, and I think it probably will offer something very different that hasn't been seen in the MCU, so that has me excited.
Hell yeah. Speaking of offering things that you don't get out of the MCU, Venom. We got some Venom updates. So let me know if I'm wrong here. I believe it was initially set to release October 2nd. And
yes.
Then it got delayed 2 weeks to the 15th.
Right.
And then, very recently, there was a rumor that Venom Let There Be Carnage was going to get delayed to 2022 after CinemaCon ended. And then I also heard somebody else from Sony was like, that other person from Sony's wrong, and there's been no word yet. But I think that's everything with this movie right now.
There was a report saying Venom 2 would be delayed to 2022, and then Variety said it would not be delayed till 2022. Obviously, things are still up in the air at this point, so it's entirely possible that this is delayed. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens with this one. I'm kind of expecting all of the fall movies to be delayed, really.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We will. I'm personally, we all know that I'm stoked to see this movie. I would love if I could see it at home and not have to risk going to a theater again because uh, I'm fine paying to watch Venom, right? Like, I would do that from the comfort of my own home. And I don't know if Sony would give me the option to or not. It's for sure not going to happen with Disney, so that's why I'm leaning towards going to see Shang-Chi. But I would rather not risk myself in October for Venom, you know?
I am especially worried about going to the theater for Venom because not only is there a global pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
that's redundant. I can just say pandemic. Not only is there a pandemic, but I was warned by the universe not to see the first movie when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So coupling those two things together, it's very scary, Christian. So I don't know
Absolutely.
about this one. I don't know about that. I will see it. I will be
Mm-hmm.
very reluctant to see it
Sure.
whenever I do see it.
Sure. Was that the last time you saw Venom? Was that awful night?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, hopefully when you rewatch Venom from home this fall, it's an all right thing. I hope the TV doesn't conk out or anything like that, or power outage. Nothing horrible like that. Like, I hope it's a nice, easy viewing experience for you watching Venom again. Just enjoying every moment of that piece of cinema.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly. My thoughts exactly.
So the reason you're going to be watching Venom again, I'm going to be watching it again too. We've decided that as long as everything holds, right? We're still like waiting to make sure that the schedule can work out because of delays of things. But much like we began with Excelsior this fall, of course, we're going to be continuing to talk about Avengers every week because it's a game that we both enjoy, and all of you agents of Excelsior listen to the show because you also enjoy that game. But we've decided to, one a week, starting probably late September, to line it up with Venom. Gonna be watching every Spider-Man movie and ranking them on the way to No Way Home.
Yes, dude. This is so exciting. Like what you said, we're getting back to our roots here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, I've seen the Raimi trilogy probably... I think the last time maybe I saw it was 2018. But thinking about that, it's been a while. Even then. So I'm glad to sort of go back and watch him. Even Venom, man. Even Venom. I'll give it a second shot.
Hell yeah.
I'll give it a second shot. But yeah, so do you want to explain like what movies we'll be going through leading
Sure.
up to No Way Home?
Sure. So as it stands, if Venom gets delayed again, things might get shifted around. But currently, I think the tentative plan is we kick off with Venom the week before Venom 2 comes out, and then we review Venom 2, and then we go back to the Raimi trilogy. So then Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then just for the sake of being clean, we would do Spider-Verse, and then Homecoming, Far From Home, then directly into No Way Home.
Sounds good.
I think I hit everything.
Yeah,
So.
I think you got it. I'll say this right now. We'll refer back to this maybe in a few months. The Amazing Spider-Man movies, not as bad as people say they are.
Oh, yeah, Jack. I'm so glad. I don't think we've ever talked about that much, but I agree. I heavily agree.
Yeah, I mean, there's some nonsense in those movies, obviously, and no, I don't think they hold a candle to the Raimi movies, or especially the recent. Man, I almost said Mark Webb. Who am I thinking of?
Tom Holland?
No, who's the director who does?
John Watts.
John Watts. Yeah, I don't know why I went with John Watts. Either way, I think those movies are still really good Spider-Man stories. So we'll see if that changes from now.
I held the opinion for a long time, and I might still feel this in a certain way, but I think Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man is my favorite Spider-Man, like strictly just Spider-Man.
You can make a case. You can make a case.
I think he carries himself well, and he's quippy. You know, he doesn't sound like he's depressed the whole time. So
Yeah, I think Andrew Garfield probably is behind the suit the best Spider-Man, and then Tobey Maguire is probably the best Peter Parker because obviously, and then Tom Holland is probably the best synthesis of the two of them.
Sure. So yeah, that is the plan at the moment. If you see the art for the podcast change, do not worry. We will still be opening with Avengers content every week. But I made a nice little new logo. Reached back to the Sam Raimi inspiration of the webs and everything. So yeah, look forward to that. That's a Spidey-filled fall. We're also planning a couple other Spider-Man conversations, like maybe a fun little discussion about the Spider-Man game on the anniversary, because we're strictly talking adaptations. Yuri Lowenthal is like my favorite Spider-Man, and totally. I think you're in a similar boat.
Yeah, he's up there for sure.
Yeah. So, Spider-Man heavy fall.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully we'll get the Spider-Man DLC for Avengers. So, I mean, it's Spidey this whole fall, and we were talking about potentially reading some Spidey comics. Oh yeah, definitely One More Day, maybe Back in Black, which leads directly into One More Day. So yeah, a lot of thoughts and ideas, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, and we hope you're all excited about it too, because we appreciate you listening every week. And Avengers, the game, is great, and Marvel as a whole, I'm pretty sure we all still like, so it's gonna be fun.
Totally.
Speaking of great things, I don't know if you saw this. I saw this just as we were getting ready to go live, but apparently in New York City, if young teens are getting their COVID-19 vaccinations, they are getting a free Avengers comic that is about the Avengers promoting getting their vaccines. So,
interesting.
Yeah, fun little awareness thing. I know Marvel has done a lot of, not propaganda, because I wouldn't say that's propaganda, but like they've done a lot of
public servicey things.
Yeah, and like crossover stuff with real world events, just to promote, I guess, global unity of everybody who enjoys Marvel. Like, I don't think we ever talked about it much in our entire run, but like there's that infamous cover of The Amazing Spider-Man that's just pure black, that was the issue that came out after the September 11th attack. So
yeah, I have read that. Sometimes I'll go back and read that. It's devastating.
Yeah, so this is not the first time Marvel has dealt with a real world catastrophe and adapted it into their medium to sort of make it more digestible for young readers, or get, some educational content out there. But I did not know about this until earlier today. I heard about it, and I thought it was very cool.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Sure. Last thing on the list, I meant to bring this up when we were talking about Venom, because we all know Tom Hardy's Venom is absolutely going to be showing up in the MCU at some point. Sony's rebranded the Sony Spider-Man universe to the Sony Spider-Man universe, rather than the Sony Pictures Unrelated Marvel Cinematic Universe, or something weird. That was the old abbreviation. Now it is the Sony Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, so that, I feel like that was probably the colloquial term for it, like Sony's Spider-Man, whatever. So it makes sense. Yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say.
Yeah. So I think, though, the specific rebranding to me implies that Tom Holland's going to be showing up in a lot more movies soon.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
Seems that way. I mean, with No Way Home being the last definitive MCU Spider-Man, for now at least, it seems like he might be spending some more time in the Sonyverse.
Yeah, which, personally, I don't have a problem with. I would love to see him beat up Jared Leto,
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, why don't we get to the exciting things? Spider-Man No Way Home, the trailer has arrived. It was pretty beefy for a first trailer. It was like 2.5 minutes almost.
Yeah, I think it was just about 3 minutes.
Yeah, we got some good content out of this thing. Basically, do you just want to talk about it as your heart guides you, or do you want to go in like a specific order? General vibe?
Let's just do general vibe, maybe.
Okay. General vibe. What do you think of the trailer?
I really like the trailer a lot. As we've discussed for a while, I think both of us have been very worried about this movie.
Oh, for sure.
And I still am. but I love the premise. I love the idea of the fact that Spider-Man and Peter Parker is still a kid. He's still in high school. And the first thing he does when he realizes his whole world has turned upside down is go and look for help. And for him, that's Doctor Strange. And, like, I love the gears in his head being like, oh, he's magic. Maybe he can fix this. And I know it's based on One More Day, which is atrocious in terms of, like, the ramifications. So I'm still worried about what the end of this movie will be and what happens after all of this. But the setup of this movie is awesome, and I'm very excited for it.
Sure. I will say most of my worries, I think, are gone. I am with you. I think One More Day, adapting that is certainly a choice, but honestly, I feel like One More Day, at least the end game of it, like what our result is, I think that works better as a movie concept than literally anything else. Like, because it's just basically It's a Wonderful Life or A Christmas Carol, right? Where it's like, oh, I wish it was like this. And then you realize, oh, it's way worse this way. And then maybe in the end, you go back on the wish, or you just have to deal with these consequences. Like, I think that can lend itself in the context of this Peter Parker and the MCU to a more satisfying story than that comic did, personally.
Yeah, and I certainly don't see a world where it ends similarly to that comic, because that would have huge MCU ramifications. It kind of reminds me of Days of Future Past, where the X-Men go back in time and sort of like mess around with the past, and then basically establish a new universe going forward. I don't think it's going to be like that. I do think that I just don't know how this movie ends, but I like the idea of Peter's identity's reveal mattering. So maybe by the end of this movie, that's fixed, and he just decides to announce his identity anyways for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't want this to end up being, clean at the very end. I kind of want a messy ending.
Yeah, would you take this as a messy ending where, like, he makes this wish and it goes through, everything in terms of the multiverse aspect gets settled by the end of it, but, like, he can't undo the spell, he just sends everybody back, and in our world, he still has to deal with, like, I'm assuming it's going to be a sort of thing where because he makes that wish, Ned isn't his friend, like, Ned is, like, on the football team or something and never talks to Peter. And he's like, who the hell are you? Why are you talking to me, Parker? And MJ is not with him. Because I think if we reach a point where the secret identity thing remains, but Peter has to live with MJ not being his girlfriend anymore and Ned not being his best friend, I think that would put him in a situation where you'd be pleasing a lot of the people who, and I kind of feel this way too, to a certain degree, feel like MCU Spider-Man doesn't have as many consequences or sacrifices that he's made. And I think that could be a meaningful one based off of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, but I also don't want any of the character progression or development between any of those characters to just disappear.
Sure.
So I think what we'll get is we might get something like that where at first this it goes through and he needs to reverse it, and by the end of the movie he has to deal with the fact that his identity is public, and that's just the fact of life now. I kind of think it's funny that he goes to Doctor Strange, and seemingly Doctor Strange's first reaction is just like, oh yeah, that's just how all of us are, like, grow up. He's like very willing to go through with this, which I think is funny.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of discussion online being like, Doctor Strange would never put the universe at risk like that. And I feel like a lot of people are forgetting what this character's done in his career so far. Because
yeah, I mean, he definitely breaks a lot of rules.
Yeah, like, of nature. Like,
yeah,
for fun, to try it out. Like, basically everything he's done so far has been a risk because you've made this abundantly clear, and you are not wrong. Doctor Strange, outside of like his characterization and direction, his character arc hasn't really progressed much since the beginning of Doctor Strange, right? Like he just kind of traded the power of being a neurosurgeon for the power of being a master of the mystic arts, and he still is kind of like really full of himself and does what people say not to do because he thinks he can do it. So
Yeah, he's incredibly arrogant.
yeah, so like the idea that he's like risking the multiverse to help some random kid, it's like, well, yeah, I mean they did like die side by side essentially and come back to life together and save the universe, and he likes doing stuff like this. So I don't think he's a Super Skrull or Mephisto or Mysterio like I've seen some of the theories out there speculating.
No, I don't think it's anything like that, but I do think he has ulterior motives. Like, I don't think he just helps Peter just to help Peter. I think maybe he does this spell, and I'm not really sure, but I think he might be looking to do something along the lines in the multiverse, but also happens to be helping Peter at the same time. Not really
So
sure.
you're suggesting maybe that he sees this as an opportunity to get to something he wants?
Yes, I think he sees this as, yes, I'll help Peter, but also for whatever reasons that we don't know yet, he might be tapping into the multiverse for reasons of his own.
Right, because the trailer implies that the multiverse breaking through these events is on accident because Peter is
Yeah.
like tampering with everything. It's not an intentional thing by Doctor Strange.
No. But like there is an antagonistic aspect to their relationship in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like once this breaks open, maybe there is some motives that he has. I'm not really sure, but I don't know. It seems very much like a plot device to just make the multiverse happen, which that has me worried in itself. Like I feel like he has to have some motivation for doing what he did, aside from just saying, "Sure, Pete, I'll help you."
Sure. Do you think it is maybe a way for him to? I've seen people speculating that the events of this, when that spell happens, when Wanda hears Billy, and then when He Who Remains gets stabbed, all happen simultaneously. Like, do you think that he maybe is trying to weaken Kang in some way by being like, oh, the multiverse is open now, so he doesn't have control anymore, and we can fight for ourselves? Like, maybe that is the reveal.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I didn't consider Kang, but I'm not really sure with this movie, and that's great. I love how this is definitely a teaser, and we get a very vague, motivation for this movie, but we don't have everything.
For sure. We also get to see some downtime. Like it's nice seeing him and MJ hang out again. I'm glad that at least from the trailer, it seems like the reveal and the new attention on Peter hasn't put that big of a strain on their relationship. Like after the reveal, I thought he was gonna probably like cut that off just so she wouldn't be in danger, but it seems like they're still having a fine relationship together in the movie. So
Yeah, and my takeaway from this is that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is like the main character, and we don't see any other Spider-Men that are rumored to be in here, and I love that. I hope if we do see that, they take very minimal roles, and sure, we could see them in another movie at some point or another, but I want this to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man movie, and it very much is so, according to this trailer, which is awesome.
absolutely. The trailer also does some really fun things with like some Doctor Strange imagery. It's really cool to see like the upside down swirly Manhattan again. A lot of wild special effects. Like there's a train running through the desert, and then Doctor Strange is like making multiple trains on all different tracks and stuff. Like visually, it looks trippy as hell, just like Doctor Strange, which is pretty cool. Are you worried at all about the level of his involvement? I feel like we talked about that before, but after the trailer, do you think that he might be in it too much for your liking, or where's your head at there?
No, it's actually pretty interesting to me that he's in this. because I feel like we really haven't seen a lot of Doctor Strange Spider-Man involvement, so their interaction is fairly new, I would say. Aside from like we saw them in Infinity War especially, but other than that, we really haven't seen them interact. So yeah, that's interesting. I like the idea of of Spider-Man interacting with characters in the MCU, despite also liking him to just sort of be on his own. So I feel like we'll have probably, maybe, I would say probably more involvement than Iron Man had in Homecoming, because like, he's the main driver in this. But yeah, I'm interested in their interactions for sure.
Yeah, and that's something I'm genuinely excited for, because for me growing up, Spider-Man was always, he wasn't part of a team, but he always had really cool team ups, right? Like him and Human Torch, him and Daredevil, him and Wolverine. In like the cartoons and the games, it was always really cool to see what Marvel hero he'd team up with for a job, right? So the idea of doing that in the MCU now, like Iron Man has had a looming presence over some of the Spider-Man stuff, but I never felt like they were partners or like working together in any way. So it's going to be really fun to see that dynamic here, I think, like you said.
Yeah, totally. Something else I really liked about this trailer was the tone of it and how weighty it felt, especially with the music, and the ramifications of just what was going on with the plot. I felt that the previous two Tom Holland movies were a little too jokey. I know like a lot of people have complaints about that, and I kind of agree with them. Despite me liking them a lot, they just didn't really have, at a lot of points, like the emotional weight I was looking for in terms of the Spider-Man movie. Like a lot of the emotions were sort of undercut by just, quips and jokes and things like that. So I'm sure we'll be getting that with this movie still, but it seems like it is like a very like weighty, important like Spider-Man movie. Probably more so than we've seen with really any Spider-Man movie so far.
Yeah, and I'll say this, I rewatched Far From Home for the first time since theaters a couple nights ago, and I was surprised, like, revisiting that one, because I know everybody likes to call this, like, oh, Spider-Man and his, like, mentor trilogy, but I really felt like throughout that entire movie, and especially by the end, it did feel like he was on his own and, like, trying to find himself as a hero. And it's more of that, who's he working with this time, where he was kind of working with Fury, but he was always ignoring Fury, and then kind of working with Mysterio, but just getting manipulated. So like, I think where Far From Home leaves him off, picking up in No Way Home is going to be very interesting, because it seems like this is only maybe a few weeks or a month or so after the end of Far From Home. So exciting stuff.
I wonder how they deal with like what you said, like the timing of this.
Yeah.
Like, do we have Peter living with this for a little bit? Maybe there's like a time jump to like catch us up to where we are. Is this before or after WandaVision?
I don't know, man. I feel like we don't have any confirmation about any of the timeline. Like, we have a general idea because of the Disney Plus order.
Right.
But like, I have no idea with like exact dates, and I feel like Feige's not going to tell us until the multiverse comes out, I think.
Yeah, I feel like this might do like a few months time jump to catch us up to like present day, because
sure,
but yeah, that'll be cool to see.
Definitely. In terms of whatever else goes on in the trailer, there's obviously some interesting shots. Like, it's Happy's in the movie, that's cool. We get to see Aunt May again, we see Feast, like other Spider-Man stuff being brought in, which is neat. But absolutely the highlight of the trailer is a few things that you probably missed, and then also the big reveal at the end, where we get something that caught me super off guard, which was the pumpkin bomb. I heard a rumor that Goblin was going to be in this, but seeing the pumpkin bomb, dude, I literally had a reaction. Like, I was shook when I saw that thing.
Yeah, I remember rumors for sure about Willem Dafoe coming back. But man, yeah, that was a great image, and I'm glad they held back and they didn't show everyone, and they just showed Alfred Molina. But yeah, it's great. It's really great to see the Pumpkin Bond like old design as well as the laugh you could hear in the background. Awesome.
Yeah, that was very, very good. So I love, like you said, that they were reserved with that. I hope they're not faking us out and it's like Dane DeHaan or something. But,
Oh god.
yeah, that was absolutely the Willem Dafoe laugh. I've seen some people speculate that it might be like Hobgoblin and it's like Ned, because in the comics Ned was Hobgoblin at one point. And maybe that's like a consequence of the Peter wish. So like maybe Ned just falls down a path, and like I think that'd be interesting, but I would be lying if I said I'd be disappointed that it wasn't Willem Dafoe.
I don't think they show that and it not be Willem Dafoe. And
Yeah.
it's like the same design as the old Raimi ones. I feel like it's a little safer to say it's probably Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, I think you're right. So very cool that that's teased. We also get to see some yellow lightning. So people are saying, yep, that's proper Electro, not blue lightning, blue-faced Jamie Foxx. No good villain shot of him, but we do see the lightning.
Yep.
People have said Sandman because there is what looks like a dusty elemental humanoid figure moving around, which I mean I could see that be a thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I wasn't so sold on it when I was seeing like people point to images and stuff. It kind of just looked like the electricity was, damaging the earth and dust was coming up. But
Sure.
Certainly not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, and then we've also seen a handful of other things. Like I'm pretty sure the other popular thing is there's a shot of Peter standing in front of like a glass thing, and he gets jumped by what people are saying is the lizard.
Yeah, I can't make heads or tails on what that is.
Yeah. I think it could be the lizard, right? Just to get another Andrew Garfield character in here, so we'd have Electro and Lizard to match Toby's Doc Ock and Goblin. But like, if we have also Sandman, who would be the Tom Holland villain? Because I can't imagine we're gonna like. Obviously, they're setting up the Sinister Six, right? Like that's what this is.
Yeah, totally.
So, is it Vulture? Is it Scorpion? Because we have teases of those. Is Mysterio not actually dead? Like, do you think we're gonna get a 2-2-2, or is it gonna be some weird old Spider-Man heavy nostalgia villain party?
I don't know. That's another thing that kind of has me worried about this movie. It feels kind of like two movies in one, in a way, where it's Peter like making a wish that goes wrong, but also a Sinister Six movie, which feels kind of maybe underdeveloped a little bit. So I feel like 2-2-2 makes sense. So we could probably see that. It would, in my mind, Vulture, probably. And yeah, I think it's possible that Mysterio's not dead. So I could see that happening.
I'm curious, like, because I hear what you're saying about being worried of the split like that, but I think it's kind of hilariously genius that after all these multiple attempts of Sony trying to build up a Sinister Six, they tried and failed so many times that they have enough scraps to actually make a Sinister Six, and they're using the multiverse to be like, yeah, all those ones you already saw, it's them. Like,
yeah, that is very funny. I do wonder if those are the villains that we know. Like, obviously it's Alfred Molina, but by the end of that movie, he's good. And there are reports saying that this is the Alfred Molina or the Doc Ock that's pulled out of the river, like, as he's dying. So what does that mean? Is there maybe, if that's true, maybe is there like a motivator once he gets pulled out and put here for whatever reason? Or is it a Doc Ock from a different multiverse that is also portrayed by Alfred Molina? So I'm interested to hear those, to get the answers for that come December.
Yeah. What do you think of Alfred Molina back as Doc Ock? Once like you saw him, you heard him, you saw the look. What did you think?
Loved the voice. Not so sold on the de-aging. That was honestly pretty distracting for me. Like I noticed. I would not have been upset if they just sort of had him as he is. Like obviously he's much older now, but I certainly noticed the de-aging. But I definitely popped when he showed up. I can't lie that that I'm excited.
I'm gonna be real with you. I had no idea that he aged him.
Oh yeah, dude. I feel like it's so noticeable.
Really, I'll have to go back and watch it because I saw it, I was like, damn, he looks really good. Like I have no idea how old he is, but I imagine he's probably like in his 70s. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh wow, he looks really good for his age. I like obviously the tentacles are CG. They're not weighting him down with a prosthetic or practical stuff anymore. But
Yeah.
thought he looked good. So curious if he's gonna have a huge role because I've seen some people take the shot of him on the bridge, layer that with the goblin bomb to make it seem like that might be the final act of just like all the villains attacking him on this bridge because it's the same texture, not the same texture, the same pavement sort of design for the tentacle and the bomb. So there might be a confrontation there, but I'm sure you've seen this, the Hello Peter line and the cut to that very wide shot of Peter in the Iron Spider suit. There are plenty of people who think that he's actually addressing Toby there, not Tom. I don't know if you feel any way about that, but I don't know.
I mean,
I feel like yeah.
I definitely feel like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield will be in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
like you can't have their villains be in it and not have them in.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that very well could have just been Doc Ock seeing a man in a Spider-Man suit and being like, that's probably Peter Parker.
Yeah, man, that's what I thought.
Like, or it could be him talking to Toby, but either way, he's gonna be like, I just don't feel like that's too worth it to really like dig in deep because we kind of know that they're gonna be in this movie. It's like I don't need evidence to suggest that they're good because we kind of already know.
Yeah, because like if they're coming from another dimension, like that Doc Ock knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, so like,
right?
If he sees it, like you said, if he sees another Spider-Man, it's probably gonna be Peter. So like, I'm not fully convinced. I'm sure there is some trickery here. I said this to you, but like people are freaking out over like the dead space in some of the shots, kind of like how people did with Endgame of like, oh, there has to be somebody here when the ship shows up, but like. It was in reality it was Pepper and they didn't like edit her out. It was just like she was further in the frame and they left space for her. So like
yeah,
people are reaching. I think
I especially don't buy the one for this trailer where it's him like in the Iron Spider suit. They took the frame at the very beginning of that sequence and it's like I'm looking at it right now. It's just like a zoom in on him. Like obviously they're gonna leave space because they're zooming in on him, and at the very end of that like zoom, he's there wouldn't be that much room for two other characters to be aside him. But again, like I don't need evidence to suggest that the other two Spider-Man will be in this movie because they will be. Like we kind of know that.
I saw another conspiracy theory like right before we started recording. The shot when they cut to Peter on top of the car after Doc says hello Peter, somebody is convinced that they're deep faking Tom Holland's face on the Peter standing on top of the car because the suit he's wearing is very similar to the suit Toby wears in I think it's either Spider-Man 2 or 3 when he's like in the web in Central Park with MJ.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are losing their minds over this thing, dude.
Yeah, still. I've had this on loop for the whole conversation. I definitely don't buy that. No. But, dude, I really hope this is the only trailer we get for this movie. I know that's not going to happen, but like, I feel like they're going to market this movie as being a Spider-Man team-up movie, and we're gonna see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. But I don't want to. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly didn't even want to see this trailer. To an extent, obviously, I'm excited as hell. But I just, I want there to be some movie magic left. And I feel like Homecoming had such a good surprise in it, and Far From Home kind of did, but, you know, we knew Mysterio was a bad guy from the comics. I want this movie to have a really good surprise. And, like, obviously we know that those Spider-Man would show up in this, but what does that mean for this Peter and et cetera? So I hope they're holding that close to their chest.
Yeah, I'll say for a Sony trailer, I know it's still an MCU trailer, but for a Sony movie trailer, I was surprised at how held back it felt in terms of showing things, right? Like, I feel like Sony is usually pretty bad about revealing very late, especially with Spider-Man movies, very late third act footage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really love the trailer. I would love if we didn't see any more. I think a really fun surprise would be that the movie is like not Endgame length, but like longer. I think this could do to be like a 2:45. I think there's enough in here that they can justify a longer runtime for this one, I think.
Yeah. Oh my God, totally. And
Yeah.
dude, I already know. You know when you get to a movie theater and you're sitting down right before the movie, and sometimes it's those movies where it's like, this will be fine, but I kind of wish it was like, you know, a bigger experience. This is going to be, you're sitting down, it's like, dude, we've been waiting, and here it is. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait. Even if it's, I think when I said most of my worries are gone, I think it's because I was just smiling like a dumbass this entire trailer. So even if it's bad, I don't think I'll care because it's just gonna be fun, you know?
Yeah, even if my worry is that exists because Sony wants to make a spectacle. Even if that is the case, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
So that at least has me excited.
Yeah. And you know, best case scenario, we got Sam Raimi working on Doctor Strange. Tobey Maguire somehow agreed to come back and be Spider-Man again, potentially. Maybe Sony is real happy with this. It becomes the highest grossing movie of all time. And then they're like, you know what, Raimi? Make your Spider-Man 4. Mark Webb, make your Spider-Man 3. And then you're done. But, like, just do the thing we took away from you, you know? Like, just do that. People see it. They don't care anymore. We got 3 different Batmans over in DC. Like, just do it.
Insert Hawkeye, don't give me hope. Yeah. But, I mean, I'm really interested to see how this performs, because this, in 24 hours, it amassed, like, the most amount of views that any movie trailer has had. Like, it surpassed Endgame. Like, the hype for this was through the roof. Like, maybe I wasn't dialed in as much around the Endgame trailer, but the fervor and just people straight up begging for this movie, I've never seen it before in, like, such a big blockbuster like this. So I don't know how COVID affects that. Like, if it's December and it's still really bad and they still decide to release that movie, what do the numbers look like?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious, because this would definitely be $1 billion movie in normal times, for sure, because Far From Home was, and this would easily surpass that.
Yeah.
So I wonder what that means in 2021.
Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm excited. I am very curious, but I don't think any people are going to rest with this now that we even have the trailer. Like you said, people were begging, and now it's just conspiracy theories. You know, it's constant. Like, oh, this is tied to this. This has to tie in here. Like, this is evidence. So I'm sure people are going to be picking the trailer apart for weeks and weeks and weeks until we get a second trailer, which I'm with you. I don't want to watch it, but I know that, like, that entire week, if I go on Twitter once, I'm going to see Tobey Maguire just in his suit, you know, like, after the second trailer drops. But
it's at the point where it's impossible not to see it. If they do release a second trailer, it'll probably be, I'm thinking, like, what, in a couple months, maybe October.
Venom 2.
Yeah, maybe around then. to generate some more hype, and then there's like TV spots or whatever in November leading up to December. So it's just going to be impossible. So when they do release a second trailer, I will probably watch it because even on Twitter you can't even mute things properly, because even if you mute hashtags or words, people just will straight up just post an image with no words and that'll be shared by everyone. So it's kind of impossible.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky. I will say this. I was going to make a point, but I completely blanked on it, so never mind. Overall, cool trailer. Awesome seeing the Raimi nods. Excited for our Spider-Man review season, so look forward to that. And, of course, we'll have conversations about second trailers. Oh, I remember what it was. I was watching Big Brother last night on CBS, and one of the commercials, 10-second TV spot already of that trailer, the title card, and it was like, watch the trailer online. So that was like the fastest turnaround I've ever seen for a debut of a trailer and then syndicated ads on TV. So
yeah, in normal times, where do you think this movie would land at the box office? Because people are like, man, this could be up there, not surpassed, but could be up there with like Endgame and things like that.
Genuinely, I think if it was normal times, what's the top 3 right now?
Avatar, Endgame. I don't know number 3.
Is it Titanic still?
It might be Titanic still.
I think this could be Titanic.
Kind of with
you. If
you.
It was normal times.
Kind of with you.
Yeah.
So, I feel like it might still.
I know. I think I want to believe that too. I feel like it could.
Because you have to imagine this movie is going to be in theaters for months.
For months. Sure.
Like when Multiverse of Madness comes out, this movie will still be in theaters.
I think so, yeah, because like think about, even if it is bad times of pandemic still, and if it's bad in the winter, if this movie releases in theaters, everybody else is going to be delaying stuff. So the people who are wild and out that want to go to a movie theater, what are their options? Oh, Spider-Man. Like that was the Avatar thing, right? Avatar was in theaters for like 6 months.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's possible. Not number 1, but beating Cameron's other movie, I think that could very well happen.
Do you want me to read the top 5 to 10?
Sure.
Or 1 to 10? So sure. Number 10 is Frozen 2. Number 9 is Furious 7. These are all like in the 1.4 millions upwards. Number 8 is The Avengers. Number 7 is The Lion King. I believe that was
the Jon Favreau.
Yes, Jon Favreau, Lion King. And then number 6 is Jurassic World. Number 5 is Infinity War. Number 4 is The Force Awakens. Number 3 is Titanic. 2 is Endgame. 1 is Avatar.
Huh. Yeah, I'll still say Titanic.
I think it could easily hover in the top 5 spot. And oh man, we're getting the 2 million. I feel like this could be a $2 billion movie.
Yeah,
like it has that energy to it.
For sure, I'd be more confident saying it'd be a $2 billion movie if it was normal times, but I think currently, like as it stands on August 26th, it has a chance of being $2 billion, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much momentum behind this movie.
Yeah.
That I've just never seen before. Like, aside for Endgame, like, leading up to it.
Yeah, plus you have, like, the casual people who, like, my sister does not care about the MCU, right? Like, she's 8 years older than me, but we grew up, we watched, like, the Batman movies of the early 2000s and then late 90s, and then, like, the Spider-Man movies. She does not care about the MCU except for, like, Black Panther and one other thing she liked. I forget what it is, but she's tried. Like, a couple days ago, she tried watching Cap 1. She was just not into it and gave up, but she loved the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. If she sees an ad with Tobey Maguire in a new Spider-Man movie, I'm sure she'd be like, oh, what is this? Like, is it like a sequel? Is he still playing, like, is it still Spider-Man? So you're probably going to get all of those people, too, that don't care about the MCU, that are in their 30s that just loved the Spider-Man movies growing up, and they see him back in the suit, and they're gonna go too, and they're not the normal audience for the MCU. I'm sure there's a decent amount of people who are like that.
Yeah, this touches all the generations.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's a lot going into this movie. So, I think this could do very well. Yeah. Hot take.
Yeah, plus, you get all those Daredevil fans that just want to show up.
All right, do you think the dude with the sleeve is Matt Murdock? Because I certainly don't.
No, but I still am holding out hope for a court scene with him defending Peter, and a Skrull walks in as Peter Parker, and then Peter swings in the Spidey suit. I'm still hoping that is a actual scene that Kevin Feige heard me talk about and then wrote to become fiction.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. But no, I don't think it's him.
Yeah, I don't think in that scene. Maybe in like a post-credit scene. I feel like
Sure.
the post-credit scene probably... Well, there's two. They're usually funny and serious. I feel like one will probably be about Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
The funny one usually doesn't tie into anything. Maybe it's Matt Murdock. Maybe he shows up at the end. I don't know. I'm still not really holding out hope that he's in it.
Yeah, because what if, like you said, we get to a situation where Peter's like, hey, I undo everything. Everybody still knows it's me, so now I got to prove it's not me. And then he hires Matt Murdock to be his lawyer, and they go into a courtroom, and then a Skrull comes in.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah. I'll say the funny post-credit scene is going to be Tom Hardy showing up on Tom Holland's doorstep.
God.
Being like, hey, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
God, I hope not.
And then Venom's like, we're a big fan. And then that teases Spider-Man 4 as the symbiote suit.
Man, don't like the ramifications of this movie already. I hate it.
Well, we're talking a lot about what if scenarios, so why don't we move on to what if the episode this week for Marvel's What If. I think this is the full title, What If We Lost Earth's Mightiest Heroes?
Yeah.
It is a new spin on what is popularly called Fury's Big Week, which is basically the events leading directly into the beginning of Avengers 1, where Iron Man 2 happened, Thor happened, Cap got defrosted, and Hulk happened, right?
That's right.
So, overall thoughts for this one. What did you think?
I really like this one. This was a time for Nick Fury to shine a lot, where he's usually, unless it's parts of Avengers or Winter Soldier, like he's usually sort of relegated to the side, but he was pretty much the main character in this, along with Black Widow. So I really liked that aspect of it, and I loved kind of how brutal this was, and we'll get into it when we get into the spoilers, but yeah, this was an all-around great episode. It was a good little mystery throughout. Yeah, great story. What about you?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one as well. Very similar to last week's What If T'Challa was Star-Lord. I think this is capitalizing on what I wanted What If to be, and I had a great time seeing Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, just having a good time playing Nick Fury in this kind of murder mystery. It was very fun, and continuing on setting expectations for what I want out of this show in the future. So I had a blast with it. Pun intended. I guess getting to spoilers now. Did you guess the twist?
I don't think I did. I mean, eventually I did once they started saying hope 1,000 times, and I was like, oh, yeah. Man, we're really going there. But no, I didn't until just before Nick did. What about you?
So I was watching it with Kayla last night, right? And when they did I think when Betty did the close-up on the syringe, and it was like blown up, and she was like, oh, this was like a ballistic or something. I leaned over to Kayla, I was like, oh, is it like evil Ant-Man? And lo and behold, it's Hank Pym getting revenge on S.H.I.E.L.D.
Good call.
Which was still cool. I didn't think it would actually be that, but like when they said hope, but specifically when Widow was in the library and they showed I think it's like Janet Van Dyne deceased, and then she was getting beat up by the Invisible Man. I was like, okay, yeah, it's probably an Ant-Man character.
Yeah,
So,
totally. Man, I could not believe that they just quickly and easily killed off all the Avengers.
yeah, dude.
That was amazing to see.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite murder out of the bunch?
I mean, I think shock value was Iron Man right up front. Like, didn't expect that. But, like, we got to talk about Hulk just imploding.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. That was very funny. Um, who would have thought? You know, a bullet to the brain cannot stop Bruce Banner, but Ant-Man with a growy disc can. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying to think how OP Ant-Man really could be.
Yeah, dude. The Thanos.
Yeah, it's funny because that screenshot or the whatever artwork that someone did of Ant-Man going up Thanos' behind was like making its waves around before this episode came out. And like it's kind of in a way what this episode's about in a sense, which I think is hilarious.
Do you think that meme, because What If was probably being worked on for at least the last 2 years with like scripting and storyboarding and animating. Do you think when they were doing their list of episodes, they saw the meme of that's how they went against Thanos, and they're like, you know, what if we did a what if about that? Kind of like to take the nugget there and then flesh it out to fit a better story.
I genuinely think that idea and the joke of it is like referenced by the Hulk death.
Probably.
Because like that is pretty much the outcome of that what if scenario. What if Ant-Man went up Thanos? Like you're using like the Hulk character who's very, equivalent to Thanos in a sense, size wise. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of in some ways a nod to that.
In our canon, it absolutely is.
Totally. And wasn't it weird seeing the Edward Norton Hulk universe in the MCU again?
Yeah, dude. It was very strange. I like that we kind of focused on the Hulk University a little bit because I liked seeing Ruffalo Banner like sort of deal with that, even though it wasn't super serious. But yeah, for sure, it definitely was strange seeing them heavily reference that movie that kind of is the black sheep of everything outside of Ross, really. You know?
Yeah, that was like there's been very few references to that movie in the MCU. Obviously, Abomination's coming back in Shang-Chi, which is I don't really know how to feel about that, but that's a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that took me a little bit to get acclimated to. Like, oh, this is Steven Tyler's Liv Tyler. This is Liv Tyler being voiced by someone else. So yeah, a little strange.
I will say I thought Lake Bell as Black Widow, I think. Was that who it was?
Yes. Yep, that's who she played.
She did a really good job being like a voice match and like sort of playing up that take on Widow. Like I think it didn't really sound like someone impersonating Scarlett Johansson Black Widow. It seemed like somebody who was carrying on that spirit, you know? Like I feel like it's a very thin line to toe when you're trying to do a voice match, and it can very easily sound like an impersonation. Like my favorite example of this is Donald Glover as Lando. I feel like he's just doing a Billy D impression. But I thought she did a good job matching that Black Widow, kind of like how we had with Steve Rogers for What If.
Yeah, you get like the sense every once in a while that she enunciates words in a particular way, and it's like, oh, that sounds like the Black Widow we know. Obviously, the voice isn't the same, but it's like the same, level of characterization going into the performance. So yeah, I feel like so far the voices that come in and replace a different actor are generally really good.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the Iron Man we had in this episode to the other Iron Man voice actor that we hear in like other things, that's very nasally.
Remind me of like what other instances we get that.
Um,
Like Iron Man VR?
yeah, I think him and probably some of the animated stuff and maybe like Lego Marvel.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with those.
Okay, but yeah, I thought this Tony was like, oh, it's not like that other Tony Stark impression that we hear in other places. So
No, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And
I thought,
I think we'll be seeing him more with the Killmonger arc.
hmm for sure, yeah. Uh, I thought, speaking of just returning cast members, I thought Tom Hiddleston playing this version of Loki also was very fun, especially after we just came off 6 weeks of Loki. Seeing him team up with Fury and be seemingly very genuine about his care of Thor in this take. I thought it was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he had a really good performance. I especially think um, Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury just fit like a glove. Really, like there was no difference between the performance in the booth versus in person. So yeah, I feel like pretty much all around with the acting this episode. Even Michael Douglas's crazy Ant-Man, really
Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah, and I'll say this too about Fury. Like it made me more excited to see him in the leading role in Secret Invasion. So
Ooh yeah, totally.
just seeing him front and center here, like I think outside of Far From Home, which technically wasn't even Fury, but like when Fury is in that spotlight, like Captain Marvel, he does a really good job, and I want to see him play up that character more as like the legendary secret agent. And I think him carrying this episode of What If and going into Secret Invasion makes me very excited to see Samuel L. Jackson like flex with Nick Fury in a way we haven't seen.
Totally. And I hope I mean one day that will come, but I'm
Yeah,
nervous for the final performance of Nick Fury cuz he's
sure,
just, so important to the MCU.
absolutely. Um, was there anything else that stood out to you in this episode? There was some great Coulson stuff. I thought it's always fun when Clark Gregg gets to show up again.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to see him again. I'm sad about his character, man. Really sad that he went over to television and then, that never really happened.
Joss Whedon loves just killing people to motivate his characters.
Yep. So like in the MCU canon now, he's dead, right? Like he's just totally dead.
I think so. Like Agents of Shield. I know it has its
It was
fans.
canon, but now
Yeah,
it's not.
it's not canon.
It's so sad.
And there's people that like swear it's like technically Feige never said it wasn't canon. He just said these other things that mean it's not canon without him saying it's not canon. Like, um, it's not canon. I don't think it ever will be.
No,
Unless, yeah.
it's like the Netflix
Mm-hmm.
shows where like they react to the MCU, but the MCU doesn't react to them.
Yeah. But once again, what if dealing with the multiverse makes me hopeful that we'll see some of these concepts visited in live action at some point. But overall, really enjoyed this one. Do you want to rank it?
Yeah, I'm kind of having difficulty placing this one.
Okay, okay. What's your thought process right now?
I'm thinking this might be my favorite what if scenario
Ooh, okay.
because I I love the second episode dearly. But this for me is a better what if scenario where obviously it's more impactful on the greater MCU. But also like in terms of watching it, it's like, oh man, they're really doing something different here. Um, and I feel like it tells a really good story like throughout. It's a really good mystery, I think. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards number one.
I can absolutely see that perspective. For me, in my personal order, I think it would go number one is T'Challa, number two is this one, and then third place is Captain Carter because, like I said it last week, I liked the Captain Carter thing. It just felt so safe, I guess, and just like kind of predictable, and it felt like we were watching an abridged first Avenger. But episode two and episode three genuinely feel like they're delivering on that. Hey, what if this thing was different? How many other things would be different? Where Captain Carter was for all intents and purposes, the first Captain America movie with just a different character in the lead, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. And I have a feeling that that episode will probably remain at the bottom. Not that it's bad.
Same.
I really like it as much as you do, but yeah, it pretty much, it's not really that different at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think because it stuck to that structure so rigidly, it just felt really jarring for me, where I think episode 2 and episode 3 could easily stand alone as just like this story in the Marvel Universe that we never come back to, and it is fully satisfying, you know? Where Captain Carter was like, again, it was like, yeah, it's Captain America, kind of, and then she goes to modern day like Captain America did, and then that's it. But
do you think these threads will be picked up on like by the end of the season? Because it really feels like at the end of each What If episode, we leave off at a place that could continue, like could feasibly continue. Like it's not, the book isn't closed. Like that was just one chapter in the story. Do you think that they'll all connect somehow?
I think there's a good chance that either there is an Avengers style episode in this season that deals with everything the way we kind of expected Captain Carter to after it ended the way Cap 1 kind of ends. And also, I believe in one of the trailers I saw, this could have just been editing, but I think I saw Captain Carter talk to Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I think there's a good chance we either get some team-up episode with some of these what-if scenarios being in the same timeline or universe, and the other option I could see is a season 2 following up some of these threads. You know?
Yeah, there is a season 2 on the way.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I agree. I think we'll hear more from them.
Definitely. But I think that is all I have to say, unless we want to try and agree on a group ranking. I'd be fine bumping this one up because I think it's more playing with something we have an idea of like something that should have happened that didn't, where T'Challa Star-Lord was very much a, hey, let's just have some fun with this. This was, what if what happened didn't happen, you know? So I think that could be warranted to make it the number 1 on the show ranking, if you think so.
I was going to say, stick with your list.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm fine doing that too, because I really think that T'Challa is a really good standalone, and the way it plays with Thanos is very fun, but...
Yeah, and the more I think about that episode, like, I love the emotional aspects of that, of him walking through the ship and listening to his father and things like that. So yeah, I'm good with this episode being number 2.
Cool. All right, well, as it stands, Captain Carter, What If We Lost Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and then T'Challa Star-Lord. So, do we know what next week's is?
No. This is the first week where I don't know what's up next.
Interesting.
I wonder if there's an episode list.
I mean, I think I saw a teaser. I could be imagining this, but I think I saw a teaser that showed, like, the TVA timeline splitting thing.
Ooh.
And, like, Uatu was talking about it. So... That might have even been in this episode, I think, in like his introduction. I don't remember, but I feel like I have seen that visual of the branching redlining timeline on that monitor in the TVA in the What If animation. I'm pretty sure I've seen that within the last few days.
Interesting. I just looked it up. People are thinking it might be a Doctor Strange situation.
Yes, okay.
So that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Doctor Strange is like.
Yeah, totally.
Well, we'll wait and see what's up with What If next week. But Jack, in the meantime, where can the Agents of Excelsior find you?
Yes, you can follow me on social media at FascinatedJack. What about you, Christian?
You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, TikTok at Chun2D2, as well as here on YouTube.com/JoyClicks for the video version of Excelsior in the Excelsior playlist, next to the playlists for all of our podcasts on JoyClicks, like Jedi Knights, our Star Wars show, Gamescast, our video games podcast, and everything else we do on the channel in the given playlists. If you want to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/joyclicks is where you can go. $1 and $5 tiers. $5 will give you producer credit on this show and every show we do, like Aaron Easton and Charles Applin, so thank you very much. And if you want the audio version of the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your service of choice, give us a rating and review if you enjoy the show, because it helps us out a ton and makes us happy because the show can reach more people and we can enjoy our Spider-Man review series rewatch as a whole this fall. But that will do it. We'll see what happens with Avengers and Marvel between now and next week. But until then, Excelsior.
Excelsior.